Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. Well, Christine just said that we are building a future. When we hear the news, when we watch the movies, maybe you've seen a series called Black Mirror. We have a special future, a dystopian future that's ahead of us with those robots, with this AI, with those machines trying to control us. How can we put the human front and center? How can the human be back in control of those machines? That will be the topic of the next panel. So please welcome Yves Meignet, CEO of VINCI Energies. Sandra Ray, CEO of Glowy, and Alexandre Gadin, CEO of Animal AI. So I'm pretty proud to be with three CEOs for our CEO panel. So let me introduce everybody around me. So I just introduce you. You're Sandra Ray. Good afternoon. You're the CEO of Glowy. It's a startup in bioluminescence. So what do you do exactly? You produce light with bioorganisms. So you produce light without power.
Exactly.
Just by your side, we have Yves Meignet. You're the CEO of VINCI Energies. And you're in a very special position because VINCI Energies is a technology integrator. So it's very different. It's at the crossroad between the client and the technology. So you're in very special position. You're the crossroad of technology and usage. And that's a very useful position, and you're going to tell us all about that. And just by your side, we have Alexandre Gadin. We're proud to have you here. You're the CEO of Animal AI, and you are an AI expert. So we have two experts, one CEO, and a very special one because you're at the crossroads of usage and technology. So let me start with you, Yves Meignet. You from VINCI Energies, and I've been to your lab, and on the front of your lab, on the top of your lab, there's this message, human beyond digital, when human augments technology. Why this message? Why are you putting the human before the technology?
I will come to that a bit later, but being side to Sandra, it's, I think, for us, the definition of bringing up-to-date solution to our clients. One of the historical activities of VINCI Energies is, sorry, it's a bit out of the story, but it's public lighting. And 200 years ago, VINCI Energies, some business unit, used to do the public lighting of part of the city of Paris with candles. We still do the public lighting of Paris after 200 years. Now we don't use any more candles, we use LED. And I'm sure that in 50 years, we'll use the Glowy technology when Sandra will have explained what is Glowy after. So that's the definition of what we are. We bring solution to our clients. We bring solution to our clients with the best existing technology. And that's where we are now with artificial intelligence. So why human behind digital? First of all, Vivatech is a long story for us.
Yes,
we were there 3 years ago at the beginning with half a confidence that it was interesting, and we came in force last year and again this year, and I'm sure next year also. So why human beyond digital? The vision that we have is that, first of all our business line, whether we are in the buildings, in the industry, in the infrastructure, in the ICT, all our clients, all our offers are transferred completely with digital. So we have to speed up the evolution of our offers. And the vision that we have is that all those new technologies require the human to be strongly involved in it. Artificial intelligence is a technology like another's. And we will do with it what humans want to do with it. And so that's why the new theme of VINCI Energies is human beyond digital.
But at the same time, I'm talking to you, Alexandre. When we talk about AI, you're just coming back from the UN, and there was a topic about autonomous weapons. So when we talk about AI, people are afraid. People think the technology will alienate us.
Yes, indeed. So maybe it's the reason why we feel and fear at the same time that technology is accelerating in a path that we humans cannot compete with in some way. The funny thing about this UN Commission on AI is that it happened 3 years ago when they basically asked my co-founder, Amir Bani Fatemi, to design a commission which would be about AI for good, because everybody around was talking about doomsday scenario regarding AI. And of course, the thing is that as soon as we go into this kind of terrible scenarios, we want to make sure it doesn't happen. And at the same time, we want to make sure we have a vision that is positive enough in order for us to inspire labs and industries to make sure we have new targets for a positive future, let's say.
So it's a matter of vision when I hear you both. It's a matter of vision, but at the same time, Sandra, you're also working with frightening subject because you're tampering with the DNA of living organism. But it's bacterial organism, so it's not. But at the same time, isn't that frightening? AI and tampering with the DNA, is that also a matter of vision?
Yes, I think there's a lot of things in common between AI and biology, for example, because with AI we're trying to copy humans' behavior, and it's the same time that we're doing with biotechnology. We're trying to copy what's working in nature and improve it to have solutions. And it may sound frightening, but at the end of the story, we are the one handling with this tool that we are building. So it's just a matter of controlling things, understanding what we're doing. And yes, the fear that we might have, it's just a way of thinking through the problems that can come, but it's also a way that we can improve ourselves on controlling what we're doing with that kind of tools, and it's the same time for AI or biology.
If it's just a matter of controlling things, it's just a technology like another, we need to control it, how you're tampering with DNA or how you're doing AI, it's just a matter of control.
You know, I think every time there is a new technology popping up, the world is afraid. Internet, if I'm not wrong, is 30-year-old this year. When the train was created, when the electricity was created, when the telephony was created, everybody was afraid of what could happen. For those who are about our age, we remember of the world could have been finished with the bug of the year 2000, nothing happened much. So the world is always afraid with new technology. And it's true that with the artificial intelligence, there is a lot of scenario going on where we can lose control, the panic button story. I think the vision that we have is that it is becoming, or it will become a commodity. It's a technology like another, which will be embedded in a lot of things we do in the building, in the industry, in the infrastructure. We need to simply appropriate those technologies to be able to bring it to people and to focus on usage. I think we need to have the conviction that we don't need and will not be able to understand everything which is behind artificial intelligence, and focus on how to use it, on the stories that it brings to us, and simply live with it.
How can you control AI today? Is it possible?
Well, it's actually a very interesting question because, again, a lot of us, and you mentioned the panic button and the idea that a lot of us might fear that at some point the machine could get out of control and we just want to make sure we would stop it. Actually, that there is one great AI researcher, Stuart Russell, who worked on this area together with the UN, actually, on this same commission. And I think, yes, it is possible to make sure that in most cases we do know what happens because we are the one actually designing the impact we want. The truth is that on the other side, most of the time we cannot especially explain everything that happens in what we call the black box, meaning all of these different layers, for instance, of artificial neural network. But at some point, I think fearing too much or having this kind of control permanently in mind might also be a kind of, I would say, problem or some kind of barrier for us to push innovation and research forward. So we do want to make sure that at the same time, we focus on real use cases to make sure we can use AI for real impact, but also try and see what happens in the next decade or so to imagine further. For instance, there are a lot of really interesting area towards artificial imagination and so on that would be learning on very small data sets. And it's really interesting because it's a way that might actually enable all of us to work in AI. And we do need to not fear this kind of area of research to make sure we all grasp some of their opportunities.
Sandra, you also have the same problem in your field because there's also regulation. And do you think regulation can also inhibit innovation?
Yes, it does. In our case, it's a good example. But the problem is that we can ask the legal framework to be before innovation. Otherwise, it's not innovation anymore. So it's just a matter of thinking on everything is not white or black. We just need to understand what's going on, and we need to take decisions like with the good circumstances. And it's for our example. So we're working with genetically modified microorganisms. They are not dangerous at all, either for the health, for the humans, or for the environment. And it's proven that way. So there is no problem on that. But the thing is that legal frameworks are not made for this kind of uses. So it's a matter of use. Yeah. So then we have to discuss on how can we change that. And it's the same thing for everything that is disruptive in terms of innovation. So we really need to work on adapting those frameworks. We cannot anticipate with legal frameworks. It's not the role of the frameworks. But we just need to think about how can we really let a chance for innovation. Because the problem is if we regulate too much, then there is nothing happening.
How do you do that? Because we mentioned a panic button. Can we do like AI, trust AI by design? And how do you do that, Yves?
I think the story is we have to think also about, I'm not afraid of the big panic story, but we will have to live with this technology, and we can find some bias which can be created by these technologies. Yesterday, I was happy to be in one of the 3 working groups of Tech for Good, the one working on diversity. And one of the leaders of the tech, not to give the name of the company, explained that in video analytics, if they put the word doctor and nurse, they put hundreds of thousands of pictures, and every time they play with it, in front of doctor becomes a picture of a man, and in front of a picture of nurse become a woman, whatever they play with it. So that means in artificial intelligence, we are in front of this bias, and the question is how can we control it? How can we live with it? How can we influence it? Or are we going to support it without control? So that's why humans need to be beyond digital to make use of it and to make good things with it.
Alexandre, those black boxes, algorithm and technology, you mentioned before that there are something in AI we don't understand today. And also there are black boxes that give some biases, just as Yves mentioned. How do you change that? How do you put the human inside? Is that even possible?
Yes, it is. And I think what Yves just said is really important, is to make sure that when we look forward into the future of AI, we do fear the right things, meaning not having the fear of Terminator and so on, and some kind of sentient AI that would kill us all, but making sure that at some point we can analyze the different biases that there are in algorithms and the databases that we are actually working on, because in some way, because the algorithms themselves are basically learning on our own data, meaning our own past, they are kind of amplifying what has been the past, our own human past. So it's really important, and we see this in so many different fields. In HR, for instance, you mentioned this case. It's really important to make sure that within this black box, we can actually analyze and correct as many biases as we can. And a lot of people are actually working towards this in terms of ethics, and mostly in terms of trust in AI, to make sure that we can basically trust the machines we work with.
So trust is very important. Usage is very important. But we mentioned a kill switch, a panic button. When you're tampering with DNA, do you also put in all the security before by design, the kill switch? Do you have a kill switch for your?
Yes, we do. That's actually one of the reasons that why modifying is also interesting and less dangerous. It's because you can put the function that we want with DNA. So you can code exactly like you can code the software. You will code the DNA. So you can make some microbes depend on something thanks to the DNA that you will add that will make them die when like there's a problem. So this kill switch exists, and it's also a way that by using modification we can control that.
So Yves, I understand we can code to make sure we can trust AI, and you're adding something else. You're saying that you need to think around usage. That's the only thing that's important, the usage.
And we need to learn to live with, in a certain way, AI. A good image for me is the evolution of the cobot in the industry. Some years ago, and still in a lot of industry, where you have those big robots which are stacked in a cage, you cannot come close. If not, they will kill you because they are automatized to do their movement and nothing, and they do it every time with the same time cycle, and they don't change, and they are very dangerous. Now, start to pop up on industrial lines, cobots, which are machine learning. They learn with what they do, and they interfere jointly with human along the manufacturing lines. And I think this is a proof that we can live with artificial intelligence. Cobots are basically driven by artificial intelligence, and we will be working side by side, the human and the cobot, and that's human beyond digital. So it's simply a very strong cohabitation in the future between human and digital. And in France, we are used to cohabitation. So
But at the same time, you mentioned that it's the human that augments technology. It's such a, they're not side by side. They know that the equal path. The human is there to augment the technology. So it's even one step further.
It's true that one of the aspects of artificial intelligence is the ability to do tasks that we could not do without it. I think when we talk of artificial intelligence, we are still at a very low level of video analytics, image processing, sound processing, these kind of things. And it's true that you can do things which human cannot do, analyze thousands of pictures, find corrosion on high voltage tower as we do with our client now. So artificial intelligence, human is there to use the technology, to enhance it, and once again, to make the best use of it. The artificial intelligence, without the mind behind it, nothing will happen.
You confirm it's important because when we train those algorithms, we need to train them on data sets. We need to make sure there's no bias on those data sets. So that's important to put the human in the whole process.
Yes, I really like this idea of, let's say, humans augmenting technology, but it's also obviously true in reverse, meaning that we now have access to a new kind of intelligence, let's say, even if it's been 70 years and so on, that we're working on AI. What's really interesting is that now that we have access to this kind of intelligence, we indeed can do things that we humans, individually or collectively, couldn't do before. You mentioned access to this kind of huge amount of data in images, but what's really interesting for me is that whether it be labs or companies, when you actually build a project, whether it be tech or not, you actually try to solve a problem. And basically you do it with human intelligence and somehow tech. Now that we have this kind of alliance and collaboration that is possible between human and machines on this kind of level, we can tackle new ways, new kinds of problems. I mean, maybe huge problems, maybe problems that would be wicked, undefined. And the commission that you mentioned, the summit at the UN, was basically about tackling the 17 SDGs that you know is about access to water, but also mobility, everything that is basically about making the world better. And that would feel maybe like a too big challenge if we were just humans. And now that we can work with this kind of AI, basically we can tackle and design problems in a new way. So I think it's really important to indeed be use case oriented and make sure that as soon as we talk AI, we go into very practical ideas, but at the same time maybe level up the expectation and ambition that we have working with this technology, making sure that we create new kind of businesses, tackling new kind of challenges for society.
Sandra, what about you? Because we mentioned that you can augment the human can augment the machine, but with DNA you can do a little more, even more than that.
Yeah, we could do almost everything.
Yeah.
And it's the same questions. It's a question of ethics then. So what should we do? And this is where we need to be user-centric and usage-driven, because we could do everything, exactly like with AI. So we need to choose the thing that we will focus on to solve problems. And there is so many problems that can be solved thanks to what's happening in nature and thanks to the living things. So we just need to focus on one problem and find solutions. But we could do everything, and that's the thing. But as we were mentioning, like humans didn't wait for AI or DNA technology to be mean or to be bad person. So, well.
But aren't you afraid that maybe with this kind of technology, mean persons can do a little more damage with those kind of technology?
It's like with any technology, there is good boys and bad boys. And there will be whatever we use. A lot of bad things has happened in the world 500 years ago without artificial intelligence. So I think we should not be afraid of that. What is sure is that we need to be more vigilant to what can be done. So that's why we need to have a lot of human beyond those digital action to try to bring the good story of it, control it. And I think we need to go forward without to be afraid of what it will bring. At the end, the world always put in front the bad stories, but the good story is a reality. And of course, Sandra explained us that one of the difficulties of Glowy is that some of your technology are considered as material difficult to move. And I'm sure one day everybody will recognize that it's a nice story to move, and we will have Glowy everywhere in the streets. So AI is the same story. We can have bad boys and good boys, but let's be the good boys and use it and make the best of it.
So business as usual, it's just another technology with lots of potential, but you need to put the human first in the design to reach the trust. You need to put some ethics behind it and design around usage. Maybe you can open the floor to some question and answers if you have any questions for our panel. But maybe while the questions are coming, maybe we can, I can ask you the question, how do you see the world? Because when I mentioned in the beginning, science fiction, movies like Black Mirror, Terminator, 2001, you know, how do you see the future? Are you pretty positive because you think that's the way to go, not leaving technology do it by itself, but control it by human? How do you see the future of those technology evolving? Sandra?
Well, the thing with science fiction is that most of the things that we were talking about 30 years ago did not happen. So it's a good exercise to project ourselves into what we don't want the world to look.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more on that way. Of course, I'm very optimistic. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But I really think that for my industry, in my sector, the thing that we're going to realize in the future years is that nature have been through amazing research and development for us to find amazing solution and very efficient solution. And so that a lot of problems that humans are causing can be just find answers in nature. And this is what we try to do with our lighting issues, but there is a lot of examples. And AI is actually trying to copy the brain, so it's also about biology. How does it work really? And I really think that all the answers can be found there, and that's what we hear.
Yeah. Alexandre?
For me, we simply see it as a huge opportunity of things being changed. And with my example of the beginning between the public lighting with candles to one day the public lighting with Glowy, all those technological changes are opportunities for our companies to make a strong evolution in the buildings, in the industry, in the infrastructure, write and design a new world with better evolution, more easy use for the population. And so AI is something which will keep us busy for the next 10 or 20 years, simply to try to make our life easier and more fun.
We have a couple of questions right here. Maybe, Alexandre, you can answer the first one, which is, why do you see where do you see the most valuable use case of AI? And maybe you can also ask as Yves in VINCI Energies, where do you see the most valuable use case of AI?
So it's obviously a really interesting question that allows me to add something on this very definition of AI that we had before. I do not think it's quite any technology, basically because I do believe that like electricity, in the past century, AI has the potential to be a general purpose technology, meaning that it can impact every area that we know, every industry that we know. This is why, obviously, we do see impact and possibilities in any different industries, any possible industry. It was the case on the 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. But where we do see a lot of potential that are actually really relevant and positive for the future we want to build, maybe, is obviously in the health sector, for instance. Because of the amount of data that we gather toward human bodies and so on, and that we can now analyze in a way that we couldn't before, in order to predict diseases and make sure that we can basically act in a way that many doctors couldn't actually do before. So it might get to the idea that, I know it's kind of cheesy, but to go back to your question on the future,
we're closing the panel in 4 minutes, so if you want to answer...
We see it also in the industry with predictive maintenance. At the end, predictive maintenance is mainly based on artificial intelligence, and so that's where probably we see a quicker reward on investment, and our industrial clients are always keen to decrease their costs. So as artificial intelligence is a way to decrease their costs, that is going quite quick, I think. But we'll see that everywhere. Video analytics, traffic control, for example, we start to have city where with the video analytics we can play with traffic monitoring and traffic control. So there is a lot of examples like that. So, but it's still very at the beginning.
Yeah. Sandra, do you have any question you want to tackle on those?
No, but I think I mentioned that already, but everything that's about AI is also very applicable to biology. And this is where we can really work with the DNA and doing great things. Is when we understand and we have the possibility to analyze those data, because the genes, everything, it's so much data that we don't understand. And now that we have the tool to analyze it, this is where we can really do things.
So I'll take maybe to close the panel. Something very interesting you said before is that we've all seen what can happen in science fiction. So make sure it doesn't happen again. And maybe you have a closing word, Yves, Régnier, on this topic.
I think the last question is probably the word of conclusion. What steps should be done to gain the trust of people when it comes to AI? You know, in the world, you have always been two categories of people, the optimistic and the pessimistic. So, of course, the pessimistic will find a lot of bad story potentially beyond artificial intelligence. So, the good story is simply to be optimist, to say that it will serve us, it will serve the world, it will bring our life easier. Health is definitively a story, and that's the best way to bring nice story with artificial intelligence.
Be positive, put the human first, and put the trust in the machine, and we can augment the human. Thank you very much for your answers. Thank you.